Another QB Power Hour. Today's topic is automating bank reconciliations with Hubdoc and QuickBooks Online. I'm very glad to have you all joining us today. Our agenda is a little bit about QB Power Hour and the host initially, then we'll talk about the CPE process and ACE credit. And our topics and learning objectives today, we're going to help you learn about the new bank reconciliation feature that's available in QuickBooks Online. We're going to help you discover how you can streamline the process for collecting documents and statements from your clients, those documents that you need. Also understand how Hubdoc can help you streamline your workflow, which will allow you to save time and improve your profitability. So this is a great one. I'm glad you guys are joining us for it today. My name is Michelle Long. I'm the owner of Long for Success, and I'm an international trainer for Intuit. I've been teaching QuickBooks for a long time now, almost 20 years. That's unbelievable. It makes me feel old. Anyhow, so I really love it. I do a lot of QuickBooks consulting training, and love to have you guys check out my books on Amazon if you're interested. There's practice sets out there to learn more about QuickBooks or how to start a home-based bookkeeping business. Also, glad to have you joining Hector and I for the QB Power Hour. Wanted to mention the Accounting VCon that's coming up. Sandy Smith and I are doing our 6th annual Ultimate Accounting VCon. So if you want to check that out, go to accountingvcon.com. And don't forget to join Hector and I on the social media pages out there. It's a great way to continue the conversation. Hector, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. This is Hector Garcia. I'm a CPA based out of Miami, Florida, advanced QuickBooks Pro advisor using QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop in practice. My email is hector@garciacpa.com. I'm pretty good at answering general QuickBooks questions, or you can tweet to me or at me at QBK Accounting.
Awesome. Thank you, Hector. And we've got Joseph joining us today. Joseph, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Michelle and Hector, and thank you everyone for being here. It's obviously super excited to be here. So I cheesily like to say that I dream of a world where accountants and bookkeepers never have to ask their clients for documents. But what I really dream of is a world where we can actually automate away a lot of the manual work that we all have to do. And in this context, we're talking about it in terms of automating bank reconciliation, kind of the documents you have to collect and all of that, all of those receipts and bank statements and bills. And so that's why I've kind of spent many years of my career actually working on financial technology that helps improve people's lives. So really excited to be here. Thank you so much for everyone joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you, Joseph, for joining us. And I love your dream. I dream that too. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Okay, so a little bit about QB Power Hour. It is a free webinar series every other Thursday with advanced topics on QuickBooks Desktop, QuickBooks Online, or special guests, third-party apps, practice management, and various topics. Hector and I are always looking for topics that are going to be of interest to you all, helping you to manage your practice and grow your business. We do want to make sure to thank our platinum sponsors. #1 rated app is TSheets. They are the most amazing time tracking app there is available. Check it out at tsheets.com. Also, Aero Workflow. This is an awesome app created by accountants for accountants to help us manage our tasks and our daily things, due dates and all that stuff that we have to go through. So it's workflow management for accountants by accountants. So check that out at Aero Workflow. And then Hubdoc that we have joining us today. Love having them as one of our sponsors as well. We've got a dedicated page. You can go there to hubdoc.com/QBPowerHour. Those of you who might have tried that in the past and it wasn't working, it is working again. So please check that out. And make sure you thank all of our sponsors. They're what make this possible for Hector and I to devote the time and energy to this and keep it free for you all, along with free CPE and everything. So make sure you thank our sponsors. I think that's great. Hector, would you like to talk about the CPE process?
Yes, you will earn 1 CPE credit, 1 hour CPE credit if you attend live. You must answer at least 3 out of the 4 polling questions that we put in there. There's no right or wrong answer. They're just standard polling questions. Let us know that you're connected. You must be logged in for at least 50 minutes. CPE certificates sometimes take a few days, sometimes takes a month. Sorry about that. Do all this stuff in practice. I'm personally responsible for doing the CPEs. We should be 100% caught up with CPEs up to the last episode. Some of our episodes are also A's, so this is advanced certified advanced continuing education for advanced pro advisors. Unfortunately, we don't have a sound schedule for our A's, but we have a general agreement with Intuit that we will do about one a month. So it's like every other one of our episodes are A's, but we'll try to do a better job at posting them on the website. Again, this episode is eligible for CPE, but not for A's, but one of the August ones should.
Very good. Thank you, Hector. And our upcoming events, we've got the Accountants University from Intuit. They've always got webinars every single month, as well as a VCon every month. And then there'll be some live training events coming up later. You can check that out. The Ultimate Accounting VCon I mentioned with Sandy Smith and I is coming up in September. Check that out at accountingvcon.com. And then again, join us at QuickBooks Connect in San Jose, California. That is an amazing conference. If there's any way you can get there, it's a great opportunity for networking with, other accounting professionals, small business owners, developers, the third-party app developers like Hubdoc and others, as well as lots of Intuit employees are always there as well. It's a great opportunity, so we'd love to have you there. So let's go ahead and get into the details for today, talking about automating the bank recs with Hubdoc and QuickBooks Online. First of all, let's go on in and talk about some of the new stuff that's available in QuickBooks Online. Just briefly, I'm not going in depth on working with all the downloaded transactions and all that. The detailed training is available for you free. You can join the Pro Advisor program for QuickBooks Online for free, and they do cover the bank reconciliation as well as the downloaded transactions and bank rules in the regular certification. And then in the advanced certification, they go much more in depth on the bank rules and downloaded transactions and troubleshooting and all that. And even if you're not ready to start working on the advanced certification, you have access to those training materials. So I would encourage you to check that out a little bit. But as you know, when you come into QuickBooks Online, and I'm just in the sample company here under the banking area, and here's, let's say, a checking account. I've downloaded all these transactions here. QuickBooks has already matched transactions that I have in QuickBooks Online, so I can quickly select those and do a batch, accept them, and let it match those things that are already in QuickBooks. The other thing that's amazing is the ability to set up bank rules. So for example, you'll see here A rental. We have two of them with A rental. I can go in and set up a bank rule for those things that happen all the time. So it's great. You can go in and tell it every time. Well, let's just do it real quick. You can go in and tell it every time it sees a rental. Let's go ahead and close that. What you want it to do with that transaction. So let's just do a rental for money out on all bank accounts. And I can say if the bank text contains a rental, and I can even add an additional line. If the amount is, let's say, less than $1,000, because I had one that was $800 and one that was $200. So for those transactions that your clients have month after month, like the utility bills, like the rent payment, like this A rental, maybe this is a supplier or vendor that we use all the time, we can go through and set up the bank rules and tell it the criteria up here, the bank text contains a rental and the amount's less than $1,000, then I want you to post it to Ellis Equipment Rental and the equipment rental expense account. You could split it if you want to, and best of all, you can tell it to automatically add this to my books. This is where we save huge amounts of time, because probably 80% of our clients' transactions, they're the same every single month. They have the same electric bill, the same water bill, the same, rent expense. A lot of these things are going to be the same every single month. And by setting up these bank rules, we really are automating a lot of these downloaded transactions, which saves us a huge amount of time. So as we apply this rule, it will auto add those things for us. So when you go in and you look in the downloaded transactions area under in QuickBooks, you will see right here is where it auto added that for us. Now, the great thing about working with these downloaded transactions and setting up these bank rules is as we're doing this, we're also basically reconciling the bank account. These transactions that we download and either add them or match them are self-reconciling. And what that means is when you go into reconcile, so under the gear and clicking on reconcile, we're going to go into the new bank reconciliation window here. So you're going to see it tells you a little bit about, it's new and all this. It's same concept, though, what we had before. which account do you want to reconcile, enter your ending balance. So we still have to have our bank statement, right? So even though I'm downloading all these transactions, I still have to have my statement at the end of the month in order to do this reconciliation. And actually, before I continue reconciling, let me just ask you all a question here. How many monthly bookkeeping clients do you currently have? And let's just kind of see how many monthly clients you all are working with. Let me get an idea of who we have listening to us today. And so Kathy says, Michelle, sometimes QBO remembers what we did in the past, so I don't generally do the rule. Is there a big difference with the auto add? And that's a really good question. So let's say last month something came through and you assigned it to a specific account and a specific vendor. It will recall. So it sets up kind of its own rule based on what you did previously. Now, if our clients did it, they can make a mistake and it's going to keep doing it wrong. I like to actually set up the bank rules because then it's more in control, especially if it's something that you have frequently. Go ahead and do it as auto add, because otherwise, if you're just letting it say, oh, this is what you did last time, then you have, like you saw, like 25 things that are recognized. You still have to review them and go through and take a look at them and then accept them. With the auto add, it can automatically add them, so you're dealing with far fewer transactions, which is automating the process and saving us huge amounts of time. Okay, great question. All right, 5 more seconds on this poll question. I'm going to give you 3, 2, 1, and gone. Okay, so 52% of you had 1 through 9 clients, 32% had 10 through 30, and then you were kind of split on some of the others. So a lot of you don't have too many monthly clients, but you do have some. So that was great. Thank you kind of for helping me to see where you're at there. Okay, so this is the new reconciliation window. Okay, so we've worked with our downloaded transactions, we've added matched, we've set up bank rules, we've got other webinars where we've covered that in depth. Like I mentioned, it is covered in more in depth in the QBO certification training and the advanced cert training. But here's where we're now ready to reconcile. We still need to put in our statement ending date and our ending balance. So that brings up another question for you. We've got to get the bank statement from the client, right? So how many of you like email the client? Let me just go ahead and launch this poll question. How much time do you spend getting these statements from your client? So let's say you have to email your client, say, hey client, I need the statements for the bank and the credit card account so I can reconcile them. And then you wait a week and you haven't got it yet. You got to go back and check your email and you still don't have it. You have to follow up with the client, and so it's a real pain. So trying to get the statements, if the client is getting them, it takes a lot of time, right? Well, what if they can set you up as a read-only user for the bank? You can log into that bank, download that PDF bank statement, right? So you can do it yourself. You're going to save a lot of time, right? Well, let's think about this. Let's assume each client of yours has 2 accounts, 1 bank account, 1 credit card account. So that's 2 accounts. Let's say you have 10 clients. Just 10, because most of you had 1 to 9 clients. Let's say you just have 10 clients times 2 accounts. That's 20 accounts. Let's say it takes you a minimum of 5 minutes to log into each account to get these statements. So let's see, we had 20 accounts that we have to log into times 5 minutes each. You can see quickly the time is adding up. So 20 times 5, that's 100 minutes per month. So over an hour, it's an hour and 40 minutes. So, 1.5 to 2 hours per month you're spending to get these statements, bank and credit card statements. You think, oh, it's only 5 minutes to go log in and get it. But 5 minutes per account, per client, that adds up to where we're spending a lot of time. As a matter of fact, Heather Satterley did a study with the firm that she used to work for and came up with how much time they were spending per client to get those bank statements. And it was, upwards around, half an hour a piece, 15 to 45 minutes, sometimes over an hour for getting the statements from clients. When she presented that to the partners in the firm, they immediately said, yes, we're going to Hubdoc, because Hubdoc will fetch those bank statements so we don't have to wait and go get them and spend over 100 minutes getting them ourselves. So I think that's incredible. All right, now on this poll question here, you got 5 seconds left. 4, 3, 2, 1, and close. Okay, so again, a lot of you said, a third of you, let me just share it with you on this one. A third of you said 10 minutes or less. So again, if it's 10 minutes and you have 10 clients, that's 100 minutes. And that's if they have one bank account. What if they have more than one bank account? You're quickly adding up to a lot of time. So even though you think it's 10 minutes or less, that's per client or per account per client. So it adds up to a lot. And then 25% of you said 15 to 30 minutes. Wouldn't it be great if you just had that bank statement sitting there ready when you're ready to reconcile that account? That's what Hubdoc can do for us. So, I mean, I think that's huge. So let's go on back into this reconciling. So here we've entered our statement, ending date and balance, which Hubdoc fetches for me and has it sitting in the folder. When I'm ready to reconcile, I waste no time, not 10 minutes, not any time. It's just right there. I just open it and I have that statement available for me. So I'm going to go into reconcile, and this is the new reconciliation window. You can sort to look just for the payments that you're looking for, just for deposits that you're looking for. So this is a little different, or you can see all transactions. One of the things that I personally wish they would have done differently is in the past, we always check things off over here on the left. Well, now you check them off over here on the right side. We still can see the status here for those things that are marked as downloaded from the bank feed. So these things are already going to be matched. When you added them or matched them, they're already going to be marked as cleared. So as you're reconciling the bank state, or as you're downloading those transactions, it's marking them as cleared. So when you come in to reconcile the bank account, usually everything's already marked off and your difference is 0, and reconciling your bank account is a breeze. So that's kind of cool. But this is what the new reconciliation window looks like. You can filter as you're looking for some specific things, and you go in and edit the info if you needed to change the ending balance, or you got something wrong or whatever. So it's very similar to what we had before. It just looks a little bit differently, and it took a little getting used to, but once I've used it a few times, I've now gotten kind of used to it. Now, the thing that's super cool about this, though, you could go ahead and, of course, finish now. One of the things that I like that Intuit has changed, before, if you tried to reconcile and the balance wasn't 0, the blue button would say something about, go ahead and fix it and finish now. Well, now you really have to look to click on add adjustment and finish. So they've kind of made that a little bit better. But one of the other things that Intuit did that really made it a whole lot better, how many times have you had someone that goes in and changes an amount on a previously cleared transaction, or they delete something that was previously cleared, and now your beginning balance is off and you can't reconcile next month? Well, I love this, and let me zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. Oops, I made it smaller. Whoa, wrong way. Okay, now I got it too big. I'm trying to zoom so you can see it better. See how it says your beginning balance doesn't match? So when you go into reconcile, if somebody has made those changes and messed it up, you can quickly click on this link where it says let's fix this, and it's going to show you those transactions. Like here, you'll see there's 2 of them. The amount changed. If I click on view, it will take me into that transaction, and you can see here was the reconciled amount, here's the amount now, and the view is going to take you into the audit log so you can see who did it and when they did it. So you can see all the details. Now, this is super cool. Before, if somebody deleted a transaction, we had a really hard time figuring that out. Now it's going to show us when a transaction was deleted. And when you go in the audit log and click on view over here, it will show you on that audit log, you can click on when it was added so you can go back and see what that original transaction was. So here's where it was added. You could go in and see what that transaction was. So I love some of these new features in this new bank rec window, particularly this here. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, how are you? One thing I want to say is, I'm reading the comment here, is the new clear date feature. It's huge. It's huge. So before, you can have a transaction from 2 months ago, you reconcile it. The only dimension you had is yes, it's been reconciled or no. But now it would actually keep track of both the original transaction date and the date that it cleared through the bank. That is really, really nice. So I want to make sure that you at least appreciate that from the new recon feature.
Yes, you're right. That is really cool too. So I love some of the things that Intuit has been doing for us there. It does really help a lot. So yeah, thank you, Hector, for that. So, reconciling, Intuit has helped to make it better in QuickBooks Online. However, we still have some issues when it comes to dealing with the clients to be able to do the rec. Okay, so here's the basic things that we need to do when we're going to reconcile. First of all, we need to get the receipts and invoices and transactions entered into QuickBooks, right? And so we can download those transactions, but what about when you need the receipt or the invoice attached? Sometimes you need to see what it is, or you need those documents attached to the transactions. So that might be one component. We talked about getting the bank feeds and doing the reconciliation in QuickBooks. We talked about the fact that we need that bank statement. And so we need all four of these things to be able to do it. And a lot of times we've got the middle two here. We're downloading transactions and reconciling. It's the two on the outside edges that causes problem and inefficiencies. So that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit here, is getting the client documents. When we need the client documents, in order to get those from our clients, there's several different ways, and I actually have a poll question. How do you get those documents? When you need the receipts and the bills and those things, and you want them hopefully attached to transactions in QuickBooks, how do you currently get those documents from your clients? Those bills or those invoices or those receipts and things, how are you getting the documents? Because this is a big, huge time inefficiency. It's a time suck. It's an inefficiency for us a lot of times. So how are you currently getting those? This is where I love the fact that Hubdoc can fetch those client documents for us. It can see in their email, and it can fetch some of those bills and things. So there's different ways that you can get those, and then it can actually extract the data from those bills and enter that transaction and put it into QuickBooks. And Josef's going to demo this with you a little bit here in a little while. So I'm just kind of go through it quickly to kind of lay the groundwork. He's going to demonstrate how it works. So if you can answer this poll question quickly, then we could move along faster. And I'm just going to go ahead and talk about the results while you guys are answering it. So far, 43% of you are doing it via email. And I don't know about you, but gosh, my email is overflowing already. Trying to keep track of things in email, what I've received, what I haven't received, what I still need, that's kind of a nightmare, isn't it? It's very inefficient for me. 30% of you are using...
Security is a big problem, Michelle. I think,
not to mention security.
It's huge. I mean, so many of my clients, they get these phony emails from like this Google-looking thing saying, hey, put your credentials, this and that, and then they get the emails hacked, and then basically everything is out there. Bank statements, check images, their customers who pays them. Email is just not good.
That's very true, Hector. And then the other one on there, document sharing like Dropbox and Box, those things aren't very secure either. They're not a secure portal, and they're kind of at risk as well. So, all right, 3 more seconds on this poll question. 3, 2, 1, and done. So I'm going to share the results real quickly. So 42% are doing email and 31% document sharing. So both of these, it's great that you don't have to go on site. So 14% of you going on site, that's really a hassle. 8% courier or delivery, but the vast majority are doing email or doc sharing, but that's still inefficient and unsecure, like Hector mentioned. And then you still have to get those transactions into QuickBooks and get the documents hopefully attached to some of those transactions. So there's still a lot of inefficiencies that we're dealing with there. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Whoops. Okay, I think I closed that poll question. So this is where we've got Hubdoc working with QuickBooks Online to help us streamline our workflow and save us a significant amount of time. So Hubdoc, so on the left side, you've got QuickBooks, and that's where I talked about in the middle, we've got the bank feed with those transactions going into QuickBooks, and that's what I demoed for you. The piece that we're missing is getting those documents, the receipts and invoices, and getting the bank statements that we need to go with the process. And this is where QuickBooks and Hubdoc together really streamline this workflow for us. They get rid of some of those inefficiencies. How do I get to those receipts and invoices? And instead of getting them emailed or in a file sharing service or whatever, Hubdoc can actually take them, read them, scan them, and post them into QuickBooks for you. And then the bank transaction will match them, and you've got that document attached there. So I love that. And then I mentioned having that bank statement available, ready to go when you are. Huge time saving. So this is kind of the big overflow of how it works. You've got Hubdoc that's auto-fetching these documents and the receipts and invoices for us. You can back them up to that cloud storage system, but then it's integrating with QuickBooks so that we've got it there to help us, again, work a lot more efficiently and saving us a lot of time. And if you wanted to, you can integrate it with Bill.com as well. Let me go ahead and have Joseph take over and let him demonstrate how this actually works, because I really want you guys to see how cool it is. Huge time
Michelle,
saver.
real quick, I wanted to say something. Leave the slide up for a second. I love this slide, by the way. I want to frame this up because I'm a heavy Hubdoc user. I'm also a QuickBooks desktop user as well, and let me tell you where a lot of the internal conflict happens in understanding what Hubdoc is. Hubdoc is two things, okay? Hubdoc is not one thing. Hubdoc is two things. Hubdoc is either a document fetching system, so log into the bank, pick up bank statements, log into the bank, pick up check images, log into the bank, pick up credit card, log into organizations, Comcast, stuff like that, pick up the statements. It's one thing. It's a document fetching system, and for that, it doesn't matter whether your clients are on QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop, or that software with the X starting on it. So that really doesn't matter if you're doing the fetching. It doesn't matter what platform they're in, because you're using it solely to fetch documents. The other side of Hubdoc is, let's call it one-to-one transaction receipt interaction. Hubdoc also can take a picture of a receipt, can also post that transaction into QuickBooks, and also transfer the image onto QuickBooks, right? So that for that type of the software, that only works with QuickBooks Online, because QuickBooks Online is the only API that allows us to transfer documents, attachments. So it would be impossible to get Hubdoc to work with QuickBooks Desktop on the one-to-one transactions, because we cannot bring the attachment over. This is why when people ask, does Hubdoc work with QuickBooks Desktop? The answer is, on the side of transaction by transaction, no, but on the side of document fetching, you don't need it to integrate. So I wanted to ask that because I'm literally getting like at least 20 people asking, does it work with QuickBooks Desktop? And when I say no, they're like, oh, bummer. It's like, no. It may not be bummer, because it depends on how you're going to use it. So I wanted to answer that kind of in a global way.
Okay, thank you. And I went ahead and launched the poll question asking which accounting software they were using. So if you guys could go ahead and answer that. Right now it's pretty much split 51 QBO and 47% QB Desktop and 2% other, and they've been typing that in there. Some said enterprise and stuff. So go ahead. I'm going to give you 5 more seconds on this poll questions. And 4, 3, 2, 1, and done. Thank you. And I know some of you said you wanted to see that slide. You do have that handout there where you can download the slides, and you've got those available for you. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Joseph, because I want him to really show you this integration and how it works and how amazing it is. Because like Hector was saying, this is simply amazing, and it's a huge time saver for us. So Joseph, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, thank you so much, both Michelle and Hector. That was really wonderful and a great walkthrough of the bank reconciliation process in QuickBooks, as well as how Hubdoc relates to it. And you know, as I kick in here, like it's worth mentioning that when we started Hubdoc and started to focus on small business, where we started was really with accountants and bookkeepers, like everyone on this call. So everything we've done and all of our focus as a company is really to make the lives of accountants and bookkeepers better and easier, and hopefully more automated. So just as I go into this demo, what we're kind of looking at here is the Hubdoc Partner Portal. And so in the top right-hand corner here, I'm actually Homer Simpson Bookkeeping. You'll see that there's all of my clients. So I've got Barney's Bolorama, I've got Hibbert Medical, I've got Camp Krusty, I've got the Quickie Mart, I've even got Mayor Quimby on here. And so what's really nice about this interface is that I can quickly switch between my client accounts. So I can go and work on Barney's Bolorama's file. I can work on Hibbert Medical, and it's all really easy and all the information separate, and it's very accountant and bookkeeper friendly. The other really nice thing is that I can actually manage which staff have access to specific client accounts. So I can see that I've got 14 staff working on Barney's Bolorama. You know, maybe Barney had a lot of transactions coming through, we're doing some catch-up work, and so I had a couple people focused on their file, but you know what, things are kind of getting to a steady state, and I can actually reduce staff, and I don't necessarily want everyone to have access to this particular client's information. I can just revoke their access, and just as easily I can add. So all very easy, all friendly, and built for your practice. So from my partner portal, I'm just going to click through into one of my client accounts. So I'm going to click through into high definition QB Corp. And so this is my client's Hubdoc account. And the thing that both Michelle and Hector highlighted is, and the thing that makes Hubdoc special is this notion of automated fetching. We will go out and automatically get your bank statements, your receipts, your bills. We'll even go out and get payroll statements as well. It's all really easy and all really fast, and it's all really automated. So to be able to add one of these automated vendors, all you do is, hopefully I'm going to do this one more time. You just click this Add Account button. You search in this search bar or choose from one of the popular connections. We do have over 700 vendors and financial institutions across North America. So let's start with where Michelle started on the reconciliation front. Okay, I want to automatically get all of my clients' bank statements. So let's get some Bank of America bank statements. So I'm just going to search for Bank of America. I'm going to put in my online ID, all really easy. I put in my password. I hit Add Account, and now Hubdoc is going to bankofamerica.com, downloading all available statements. On a first pull, we typically get 12 to 18 months worth of documents. We've heard some crazy stories where people have, you know, connected their Chase account and gotten 6 years of historical bank statements. It's kind of fun. I never thought I would say that about historical bank statements, but it kind of is pretty great. And while Hubdoc is fetching those Bank of America statements, let's also get a credit card bill, and then maybe we'll also get a Comcast bill as well. So I'm going to search for American Express. It's all really easy. You know, sometimes people ask me, you know, oh, does Hubdoc have this connection or that connection? And I say, you know what, the easiest thing to do. So every accountant bookkeeper gets a free Hubdoc account. So if you want a free Hubdoc account, go to hubdoc.com/QBPowerHour, go and sign up. It's free for life. Try it out. And so when people ask me, hey, do you have this connection or that connection? I say the best thing to do is to log into your Hubdoc account and actually just go and search for it. And you can quickly find out and answer that question. And then you'll also probably discover a whole host of other automated connections that we do have today that you can drive value from, not only for those ones that you're looking for. So now Hubdoc is going to my American Express account and getting my credit card bills. And my last one here that I'm going to do for the purposes of this demonstration is Comcast. So I'm going to get all my telephone and internet bills, or I guess my internet bills. Let's just do that again. So I'm putting my username.
While Joseph does that, let me bring a comment up. So Joseph, you're entering the username and password yourself. So what you're showing is the experience of a Hubdoc user in which controls all their bank accounts, all the usernames and passwords. Let me provide a little bit of context because some people are asking about username, passwords, and credentials. You as the accountant don't have to enter these. You can actually invite your client for them to enter the credentials, so you actually don't have to have the credentials themselves. So it does work in that duality where I can invite my client to enter those connections without me having to have a password. I just wanted to mention that, Joseph.
100%, and that's a really great point. And so, yeah, and just building on that, there's kind of two ends of the spectrum. There are some advisors that have all the login credentials and they can go into Hubdoc and set up their client's Hubdoc account before inviting their client. And then there's the other end of the spectrum where, you know, there's some discomfort around having those login credentials, which is also understandable, right? And the best practice that we recommend is to have the conversation with your client and say, hey, remember how I asked you for all of this information every month or every week or whenever it is? And remember how neither of us really like having that conversation? Well, here's Hubdoc, here's a solution. And so the best practice is to set a meeting either in person or virtually, where you commit to setting up automated connections, like your client's Comcast account, your American Express, and you make sure the client comes to that meeting with the login credentials ready, so together you can walk them through actually adding those automated connections.
And Joseph, that's what I do. I do it with remote access, so the client types that information in. I don't actually have to see it.
Bingo, and that's like the optimal experience, yeah. Right? And so now that Hubdoc has gone and fetched all of these historical bank statements, credit card statements, Comcast bills, the really cool thing, and maybe this is just me because I'm a little bit OCD, but Hubdoc has automatically created folders for each of those connections. So it's created a Bank of America folder, it's created a Comcast folder, it's created an American Express folder. And so when we look at bank statements, what Hubdoc does is first, when it establishes that Bank of America connection, it creates a Bank of America folder, and then it creates subfolders for each account under that connection. So if your client has 5 bank accounts, you would have actually 5 separate folders with the account numbers, and everything's organized and nice and neat. And the other thing that's worth mentioning is that once Hubdoc establishes that connection, we actually check for new documents on a daily basis. So you never have to prompt Hubdoc to go and get those documents. It's all really easy. It happens automatically. And on the right-hand side, what you can see is that effectively what Hubdoc fetches is a PDF version of what you'd expect to receive in the mail. So it's all very familiar and all really easy to use. A common question that we get is, I have the bank feed coming through in QuickBooks, and I've got this bank statement in Hubdoc. Do I push the bank statement across to QuickBooks? And the answer is no. You actually want this as a reference point, as Michelle mentioned, to be able to enter the correct information for the period of time that you're doing the reconciliation. So it's all really easy, all available for you, and really the goal is to give you back control over your time and to be able to close the books faster. So the average Hubdoc advisor is able to close, to do a hard close against a set of books about 7 to 10 days after the end of the month. So it's really, really quick. The other really cool thing is when Hubdoc goes and fetches, say, your Comcast bill or your client's Comcast bill, we actually instantaneously extract out the key data. And so apparently Reba Childers invited me to connect. I will certainly accept that. So Hubdoc pulls out the vendor, date, amount, and through our integration with QuickBooks, we can actually publish not only the transaction data, but the source document as well, all coded correctly into QBO. And so I have the option of pushing this document across as a bill, an expense, or vendor credit. I'm actually going to push it across as an expense. I'm going to say the vendor is Comcast. I do have Comcast as a vendor here, and I can search through all of my vendors that Hubdoc pulls in from QuickBooks. It's all really easy. If Comcast didn't exist as a vendor, I would just hit New Vendor, and I would click Create, and then I'd have Comcast available for me. Comcast. Payment type, I'm going to say this came off my credit card, my Amex, so we just pulled in all those Amex credit card statements. We do have the option to specify which locations or classes or split the document out by line items. I'm not going to go into that level of detail here, but please do reach out if you have any questions. We're here to help. And we pull in the chart of accounts. So I'm going to say this is dues and subscriptions, and I can specify the customer, tracking class. I can say whether it's billable, not billable, and I can hit publish. Just before I hit publish, and on the theme of bank rules and automating, as Michelle mentioned, I can actually check this box to say auto sync. And so the reason I would want to check that box is because Comcast is a bill that is pretty much the same every month, and it's probably going to be coded the same. I view it as a dues and subscriptions, or you might say telephone and internet, or however you code it. And the next time Hubdoc goes and fetches that new Comcast bill, it'll say, hey, I've got actually a vendor rule for this, and automatically creates the transaction in QuickBooks with the source document attached. And so I'm just going to go ahead and hit publish. assuming this all works for me, this rule of demos. And what it's going to do is it's going to create a transaction in QuickBooks with the source document attached. And so we're having a small technical difficulty there, but I can promise you that generally does work. And so when the transaction gets created in QuickBooks, what it looks like is this. So this is a Denton's bill. Denton's is our lawyer. So Hubdoc automatically enters vendor, date, amount, chart of accounts, a description. And the really nice thing, as both Michelle and Hector mentioned, is the source document is attached. And the value of having a source document is twofold. One is you want to know what the heck your client bought, or your client wants to know what the heck they bought, or if they spent $200 at Amazon. Really helpful to have that information in front of them to make sure it's coded correctly and to be able to give them an accurate sense of where they're spending their money. And then the second reason is every transaction over $75, IRS requires that you have supporting documentation. So just from an audit proofing perspective, really helpful to have that information on the accounting transaction, and just saves you a lot of time. And also, increases your client's confidence in what's being coded and how it's being coded, because they can kind of go back and see what's happening. Some people ask us, okay, so I've got this transaction that Hubdoc has created for Denton's for $1,700, but I actually already paid this bill via my credit card, and so there's another bank fee transaction for $1,700 that's going to Denton's. Am I creating duplicates? And the answer is no. So what QuickBooks does is it automatically identifies, hey, we've got this Hubdoc transaction that was created with a vendor of Denton's, with this date, with this amount. We also have this bank fee transaction that's coming in with similar details. So Denton's vendor, similar bill date, similar balance, or similar amount, and it suggests a match. And so the reconciliation process is really easy. All you need to do is, when you're going on the banking screen, as Michelle showed, and it would suggest a possible match. All you would need to click is match, and the transactions would be reconciled. All very simple. And then the last thing that I just want to quickly touch on is, we'll go out and automatically fetch a lot of documents for you. That's a lot of our value, and it creates a lot of value not only for QuickBooks Online folks, but also for QuickBooks Desktop, because as we saw from the poll, actually, the stat that we use internally and externally is 30% of an advisor's time is spent just trying to get the information they need to be able to close the books and kind of deliver high quality financials. And so the fetching really helps compress that amount of time, and just make your lives easier as advisors. So the next thing I want to mention is, in the context where perhaps Hubdoc doesn't have an automated connection, or you've just hired an electrician and they've given you a paper invoice, or your client a paper invoice, we have functionality that actually extracts data for manually uploaded documents. And so we have a mobile app available for iPhone and Android, so your clients can take pictures of receipts. It goes into Hubdoc, we extract the key data, all really easy. And you can also email documents in. So you're looking at that email address and you're thinking, oh wow, how the heck am I gonna remember that? But it's actually entirely customizable. So I could actually change this to high definition qbcorp@app.hubdoc.com. And that email address will be entirely unique to my client's Hubdoc account. And so the way I would use that is I would actually email documents in, either myself as the advisor or the client's vendor. I would email documents to that email address, would go into Hubdoc, and Hubdoc would extract the key data, and it'd be ready to be pushed across into the accounting system. And the last but not least, you can actually drag and drop files from your computer. So I could say, I've got an invoice here. I could upload it into my Hubdoc account. All really easy. Hubdoc will then go and extract the key data. And the really nice thing is that when Hubdoc is extracting the key data, we automatically create a folder for that vendor. So everything stays organized and everything's sorted, and it's all really easy to manage. And so here was the Denton's bill that we saw in QuickBooks. Key data was extracted, and then it's ready to be pushed across into the accounting system. The last thing I should mention is, we do offer a free Hubdoc account for all accountants and bookkeepers. So go to hubdoc.com/QBPowerHour. Try out our product. One thing we're well known for is amazing customer service. Everyone who joins Hubdoc, they spend their first month on customer support, answering tickets, getting on the phone, learning about our customers, because we really love them and we want to solve problems for you all. So please reach out, and that's hubdoc.com/QBPowerHour.
So
okay,
that's,
Joseph, go ahead, Michelle. I have some questions.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Hector.
Okay, so I've been answering questions frantically. I still have 119 questions unanswered. So I'm trying to summarize them into the general themes. So general theme number 1, it's around passwords. So let me ask you all the password questions, Joseph. One is,
Okay.
Can my client can log in themselves and put their own password, right? So that the answer is yes.
100%.
What happens if they change their password? What do they need to do in Hubdoc?
So they would need to log back into their Hubdoc account. And we can actually, I'm just going to click back into the client account, and I'll just show this really quickly. So all they would need to do is the client would need to log into their Hubdoc account. They would click Accounts here. And then let's say that client had changed their American Express login credentials. All you do is click Edit Credentials, and you would put in the new password, and you would hit Update Account, and then Hubdoc would validate the credentials, make sure they're correct, and it automatically kicks off a process of checking for new documents. And there we go. Now the connection is reestablished, and then on an ongoing basis, we would check for new documents daily.
Okay. Do you get a notification when there's a connection failure for you to then prompt your client or whatever to log in and change the password?
100%. So
does the client, sorry, Joseph, does the client
Yeah,
get an email letting them know that they need to log in and change the password as well?
They do. They do get an email. In terms of notifications to the advisor, we are aware that we don't, like, let's say you have 10 clients on Hubdoc, we don't want to send you, too many notifications. So the way we surface those notifications today is we have this status column. And so here I can see for Hibbert Medical, there's kind of a little warning sign. And so I've got this BMO connection, and there's actually a security question that I need to answer. And so the same thing would be surfaced for invalid login credentials. So if a password had changed and Hubdoc tries to log in and it doesn't work, that's how we would notify the advisor.
And then there was a security question. So if there's additional security questions, the client also has to do that prompt, right, where you ask them for a code or a special password or whatever.
Exactly. And so the way that works, we call them personal verification questions. So once a client has answered their PVQs, we do look to prompt them all at once so that we just make it easy. And then once we have that information, we don't ask for it again, assuming all of the information is correct.
Okay, Michelle, you want to ask some questions? I have some more, but I want to give you a chance.
Yeah. So one of the things that I hear a lot, and I've seen some, questions in there. There's other things out there. There's other apps that can also, read the stuff and make the entries and stuff. So for example, there's Receipt Bank and Expensify. You can also, take a picture of the receipt and it will pull out the vendor name, the amount, the date, things like that. So what makes Hubdoc, what are some of the core differences between Hubdoc and some of these other apps out there?
That's a great question. I'll start with Expensify and then go to Receipt Bank. So Expensify is a really great product. They're very strong on expense management. So if you have if your client has a lot of people who work out in the field, like salespeople or contractors or subcontractors, Expensify is a really strong solution for kind of managing expenses as well as doing expense reimbursements. The difference between kind of a Hubdoc and an Expensify would be that Expensify is more on that expense management side and Hubdoc is more on kind of the business document management side, where we're dealing with kind of the bank statements and more expenses that the business would be involved with. So, you know, your internet service at your office or any office supplies that you're paying for, that's really where Hubdoc would come into the picture. And then when it comes to Receipt Bank also has a good product. The core difference between Hubdoc and Receipt Bank is that notion of automated fetching. So we automatically go out and fetch your bank statements, your Comcast bill, your Verizon bill, any of your payroll statements, your PayPal transactions. We'll go out and get that information for you. So you don't need to rely on the client to actually submit the information every case, which you would need to do when you're using a Receipt Bank. Yeah, so those would be the core differences.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, you mentioned that it's fetching this information. I saw some questions in there, you know, does it have access to the bank account and stuff? You know, and you might want to, I guess, explain, it is purely read only. It is only fetching statements. You can't go in and make any transactions on bank accounts or anything like that, correct?
Absolutely 100% correct. I want to say 1,000% correct.
Now, what about fetching check images?
So we do have what's called an enhanced feed for the top 20 banks in the US, where we not only get the bank statements, but we also get check images, we get deposit slips, we get CSVs. So if you're doing catch-up work mid-year, we actually get the CSVs of the bank statements. We also grab e-transfers. So if people are doing e-payments through, say, their Chase account, we'll go out and get those the records of those payments, and so you can see who was actually paid that amount.
Okay, cool. And so let's bring it down a level, because this is incredible. So let's pretend I'm a bookkeeper and I say, wow, I really see the value in this. I see how this is going to save me a lot of time. I see how it's going to, you know, make my life a lot easier and make my work easier. Like you said, you know, making it a better world for accountants and bookkeepers and stuff. So if I'm just getting started and wanting to go paperless and wanting to start doing some of this, where should I start? How do I get started? What do you recommend?
Yeah, so when we think about, you know, going paperless, and we have this question that comes up a lot, right? It's a really tough problem, especially when you've been doing something one way for a long time. And as we kind of saw from the poll questions, there's just a high volume of information coming to you. And thinking about changing all of those systems at once, it feels overwhelming. I know I would feel overwhelmed. And so what we recommend is kind of 3 phases to your approach to adopting a solution like Hubdoc. And so specifically in like a Hubdoc context, where we recommend starting is just starting with automating bank statements. Just set up your clients so that you have their Chase bank statements, their Bank of America bank statements, just all coming in every month. Start there, because then you're starting to automate that bank reconciliation process. It's a step 1. But it kind of gets your clients used to this idea that, you know, you're actually going to have the information that you need as the advisor without having to ask them, and they are automatically going to feel more open to changing the entire process. So that, I think that's kind of the beachhead in the transition to going paperless. So that's phase 1, automate the bank statements. Phase 2 would be automating vendors like your Comcast account, your Verizon bill, your utility bills, any SaaS solutions you use. So if your client uses like GoDaddy or Shopify or any of those solutions, we can go out and get those documents. And so that would be the second component. With phase 1, you've gotten the client used to the idea of fetching those bank statements. And then phase 2 is, okay, now let's start automating a little bit more. Let's go out and get your Verizon bills. Let's get your Comcast bills. Let's make this all really easy. And then the last stage, which we call phase 3, is actually getting all of the manual, like all the paper receipts and the paper invoices into Hubdoc. And so that's training the client on how to use the mobile app, when to use the mobile app, how to forward documents in to Hubdoc instead of, you know, sending it to your inbox, which creates a lot of work for you. And so those would be the 3 phases. Phase 1 is automating the bank statements. Phase 2 is automating vendors like Verizon account, any online services like Shopify or QuickBooks Online that your client might pay for. And then phase 3 is dealing with all the paper receipts and paper invoices and training them to submit those documents into the Hubdoc account. And so those are kind of the 3 phases for paperless adoption.
And you know what's so great about that is phase 1 alone, just fetching the statements. We talked about previously, you know, if you've got 10 clients with 2 accounts, saving you 200 minutes per month just getting those statements there, having them ready. I mean, that's one of our biggest problems is when we're ready to do the work, we don't have the statements that we need, and we wind up spending all this time chasing them down. So, I mean, just phase 1 is a huge time saver for us. So I think that's awesome. Hector, did you want to comment, ask something?
Yes, very important. Can you please, Joseph, go into the link that we gave people so they can set up the free account, because people are asking about that, and so we can talk about pricing as well.
Okay, and also while he's doing that, I want to also let you know, make sure you all download the handouts, and I'm going to show this slide in just a minute. There's the link is there, as well as there's this awesome case study, and there's a link for that as well. But Joseph, you want to go ahead and show them this?
Absolutely. So all you do is you just go to hubdoc.com/QBPowerHour, so you can see it there. Hit enter, takes you to this page, and sign up. As we talked about, it's a free Hubdoc account for your practice. Try it out, see how it works. You know, we want you to use the product. We want you to love the product. And then when it comes to pricing, it's honestly, it's such a great deal. And I'm not just saying that. So per client, it's $20. Yeah.
Can I just say something about pricing? This is where, you know, I guess I get frustrated with accountant and bookkeepers because, you know, I present these, you know, QBO certification trainings all over the place. Everybody's always complaining to me about the pricing. And the one thing that I always say to people is, how many of you do tax preparation? You know, a good number of people raise their hand. I say, okay, how many of you use a tax prep software? Everybody raises your hand. And I say, how come? Why do you spend thousands of dollars on a tax prep software? You could go to irs.gov, get the PDF forms, and do it for free. And everybody laughs at me. They're like, that's absurd. I'm like, yeah, right? You spend thousands of dollars on a tax prep software because it's absurd to do it manually. It makes sense to spend money on these power tools that allow us, like in the case of taxes, you can prepare way more tax returns and make way more money because you invest the money in the tax prep software. That's where, as accounting professionals, we have to get over, oh my gosh, it's $20 a month. Look how much time it's saving you, and you should be billing your clients based on the results that you're providing, value pricing. So when you're saving huge amounts of time, you're able to charge your client more money. You're making a lot more than what you're actually paying for. Just like when you pay for your tax prep software, you make a lot more money than the cost of that software. So we need to overlook the cost and focus on the benefits, the time savings, and the efficiency that it allows us to, instead of spending 20 hours a month, we can get things done in 3 or 4 hours a month, and we still are value pricing based on the results that we're billing. So, as accounting professionals, I think we need to get over that. And like I mentioned, Heather's firm, she presented the partners in the firm with how much time the staff were spending collecting bank statements alone, just phase 1 that Joseph mentioned. And her partners, when they saw how much time the staff was spending on that, they immediately implemented Hubdoc for all the clients in the firm. The cost was a no-brainer because of the time savings when it came to the staff efficiency. So, sorry, that's my little rant mode there.
If you allow me, we're almost up at the hour, so I put the last polling question there. I'm gonna add my 8 cents to that, if you don't mind. So, let's say you have 100 clients. You don't have to do it for every client. Just figure out which are the clients that take up more than $20 of your time per month during the document fetching process. If you can identify 6, 7, 4, 1 client that takes more than $20 away from your potential productive time in image fetching, bank statement fetching, credit card fetching, just getting those things, implement those, and there's no risk. Like I used Hubdoc with my free account for a year, like 2 or 3 years ago, before I started using my clients. Set up your free account, connect all your bank accounts, all your stuff, Amazon, Comcast, whatever, connect all your stuff, see it for yourself, and then start figuring out for which clients it works. Now, I have clients that pay for the app themselves. So I have clients that I offer, hey, if you pay an extra $20 a month, you don't have to email me the documents. And some clients say, well, I love it, and they pay it for it themselves. For some clients, some of the bigger engagements, I already can see, the drama of me getting statements. I just include it with the fee. So I'm not saying you have to go out and pay $20 a month for every single client. Set up your free account, and then if you go through your list and figure out which clients frustrate you on the document process, and add one by one. If it's profitable, keep it. If it's not profitable, drop it. There should be absolutely no risk. So because I had the same issue, and I had the same issue in my firm, getting my partners to agree that like $20 a month is too much. And I'm like, well, true, if I just completely take number of clients, multiply it times 20, and I don't see the time savings, add a client at a time. Just add those. But when you have a brand new client that comes in the door, tell them, hey, we have this great technology. It's $20 a month. You pay for it. But the great thing is, you don't have to email me your bank statements. And a lot of these clients up front are telling me, they're saying that. They're saying, oh, you know what? I'll pay the $20 and set up my own account. And then I'm not even thinking about it at that point. So for some, you take it. For some, get and pay for it. My worst client that I had to drop a couple of months ago, just because he was a major pain in the butt, he kept his Hubdoc account. That was the only thing that he kept legacy from our engagement. He's like, well, Hector, I know we can't work together, but I really want the Hubdoc account. And I had to transfer the Hubdoc account over to him. So that's kind of an interesting thing. It's let people pay for them. I think there's no issue with that.
Yeah, good points there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll question here. Give you guys 3, 2, 1, and done. And I did want to make sure that you see, let's see, I should be, there we go, showing my screen now. Want to make sure you see that this is in your slides here. On the left-hand side, again, sign up for your free account. I challenge you, if you haven't tried it before, sign up for your own free account and just set it up to start fetching your bank statement. Like Joseph said, just do step 1. Just fetch your own bank statements and see how cool it works. And then go to step 2 on your own. But also in this middle one here, under this case study, download this case study here and go read how it worked for Beyond Bookkeeping and how it helped transform that firm. And it'll help you see a real world example of how they implemented it and made changes with their staff within their firm. And then on the far right over there, if you've got questions, you can contact support@hubdoc.com and call them. Make sure you tell them that you heard about it on QB Power Hour. But I encourage you, please, just sign up for it and give it a try. And we had a lot of questions. If you are willing, Joseph, would you like to stay to answer a couple more questions?
Of course.
Okay, so Hector, did you have any other ones there? Those of you that have to jump off, thank you for joining us. But any additional questions, Hector, that you wanted to bring up there?
Yeah, there was one of the questions was about the syncing with bank feeds. So one person was asking if someone uses Hubdoc with QuickBooks Online and they take a picture of a receipt and they program Hubdoc to send the information over to QuickBooks Online, will it duplicate the transaction when it comes through bank feeds?
So the answer is no, it won't duplicate. So what QuickBooks Online is smart enough to do is it'll say, okay, I have this $10 bank fee transaction for Starbucks that's come through, and then I've got this $10 Starbucks receipt that's come through from Hubdoc. And I've got these two transactions. They look really similar. So it's both Starbucks, both $10 and similar dates, and it'll suggest a possible match. And so you're not actually creating duplicate transactions. QuickBooks Online is built to be able to automatically match those transactions. All you need to do is just click the match button inside of the banking section of QBO, and it's all reconciled for you.
So Joseph, how far back will Hubdoc pull that banking information? Can it go back more than a year?
It depends on the connection. Okay. So we've had the thing that we typically communicate is that on average, on a first pull, we get 12 to 18 months worth of documents. But we had, this is a little tangential, but we had a dispute resolution lawyer who, for some reason, finds tons of value in our solution. Crazy. And he hooked up his Chase account, and he got 6 years worth of statements and information. So it really depends what we can get, and it depends on how much history there actually is available online.
Okay, and also, like, what if one client has like 20 accounts? Is there any limit to the number of accounts that you can sign up for your client? So let's say I've got client A, and they've got 20 different bank and credit card accounts. Is that okay?
That's absolutely okay. So the pricing is flat rate.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, Hector, anything else you wanted to say or ask or answer?
Yeah, well, how much time do we have?
Okay, just a couple more minutes, so like a couple last questions.
Okay, so one of the questions is, will it download check images and deposit images? And I know it does for major banks, but does it download check images and deposit images for all banks?
No, it does it for the major banks.
Major banks only. Okay. The other question is, will Hubdoc grab a paid check image and send that to QuickBooks Online? I think the answer is no, but I'll ask it anyway.
Yeah, I think the answer is no. I think some very creative customers of ours have figured out some type of kind of workaround, but I don't think there's like a seamless way. The best thing to do would be to email our support team, support@hubdoc.com, and they may have a workaround. They'll know that stuff better than I would, to be honest.
Okay. Is there a process for onboarding banks that are not in the list?
Yes. Please email support@hubdoc.com, and they manage all new requests. As you can imagine, we also do get a lot of customer demand for new connections, and so we build based on how much demand we have for a particular connection. And so the things to keep in mind are that, number one, you should never feel, you should always feel that you should be proactive in suggesting them, because you never know who else has also asked for that same connection. And the more we hear from our customers and in the accounting and bookkeeping community, the more we can better prioritize these connections and create more value for you guys.
Okay. Does it download an Excel file or a CSV file of the bank statement?
For those top 20 banks, we do.
So the banks that make it accessible, basically, you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah. And so the value of that is, let's say you have a client that joins you halfway through the year. And so you set them up on QBO, but the QBO bank feed only goes back 90 days. And so your only option is really to either manually enter all the transactions for those first 3 months, or somehow do like a PDF to transact. It's kind of messy, but what Hubdoc will do, it'll download those CSVs and you can just upload them into QBO. The transactions will be populated and it'll save you a whole heck of time.
Yeah, especially if you got the CSV files, QBO supports that. There's more questions, but that's it. That's all I wanted to address. Oh, and to clarify, it's $20 a month per client, no tiered pricing, right? Like if I have 100 clients, is there tiered pricing?
No, there absolutely is tiered pricing. So it's $20 per month per client. When you hit 5 clients, drops down to 18. When you hit 25 clients, drops down to 16. When you hit 100 plus, it drops down to 14. And if you get up to 500 plus, it drops down to 12, which I think all those prices are exceptionally great.
Very
that's
good.
great.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like I said, when you look at the time saving, the price is just a no-brainer, so totally agree with you. I did put the link to that case study in the chat window. Whoops, let me see, to the entire audience. Let's put it out there. Make sure you all have it. There is the link to that case study. Make sure you check that out because I think that's great. And we will share your questions. So if some of you all had questions, we will share that with Joseph at Hubdoc and stuff. And so they may reach out to you to answer those questions for you. But I encourage you to, again, make sure you sign up for your free account at hubdoc.com/QBPowerHour. And also, I've got the information here on the slide where you can contact support if you've got additional questions and you want to follow up with them. Joseph, do you have any last comments that you want to add or something that you didn't get to say that you'd like to share?
No, I just wanted to thank you both Michelle and Hector. Thank you so much for having us. We're excited to be here, and we're proud to be a silver sponsor of QB Power Hour. And thank you so much to everyone that joined us today. It was really amazing. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did as well. And we're here if you have any questions. We'd love to chat.
Yes, thank you. And, you know, Hector and I both love Hubdoc, and we do really appreciate you being one of our sponsors. So thank you very much for joining us today, Joseph. Jeff, thanks for answering questions. Hector, thanks, and I will chat with you a little more. Thank you all for joining us.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.